everybody, Matt Walton here with InsuranceNewsNet TV, bringing you our fresh, fast, fun, and informative discussion of the insurance industry, your industry, all the news, views, highlights, and happenings, everything interesting and important that matters to you. How about June 9th? Well, if that's a day that will live in infamy for you, you're going to want to watch this episode. Don't go away, we'll be right back. The Think Big Advisor Super Conference in Dallas, Texas, September 27th through the 29th is going to be a game changer for the industry. It doesn't get any bigger. First-hand tips and tricks for 10Xing your business from the masters of marketing, Jay Abraham, Dan Kennedy, Mary Beth Kuzmeski, and Dan Seidman. Don't miss your chance. Register now for just $649. That's half off the regular ticket price. Register now at advisorsuperconference.com. That's advisorsuperconference.com. Think big, people. June 9th is when the Department of Labor's fiduciary rule will be applied, assuming nothing stops that rule in the short time we have left. Now, as you know, the rule would require advisors to sell under a fiduciary standard if the sale of an annuity involved retirement funds. Now, that standard requires disclosures to clients, along with many other requirements. But even at this late date, there's still quite a few unanswered questions left. So to help us parse through some of those still unanswered questions, we have Steve Morelli, Editor-in-Chief of InsuranceNewsNet, who joins us here at the home office in Camp Hill, Pennsylvania. Hi, Steve.
Hi, Matt.
So what can you tell us, Steve, about where the rule stands at this point?
Well, it stands ready to go into effect on June 9, but with the transitional phase until the end of the year.
So what will that mean exactly?
That means people who sell annuities with money from an IRA will fall under the fiduciary standard, which is obviously a new thing for insurance agents.
So what do you think agents and advisors need to do come June 9th?
Well, they can sell annuities as they have been selling them, except with the addition of the impartial conduct standard. Now, obviously that's not great news to have a new standard like that, but in this transitional period, agents won't have to compile the documentation required, and also they won't require a best interest contract.
Right.
That was particularly onerous because under that they needed a financial institution to sign, and insurance agents are not considered financial institutions, nor are the IMOs considered that. There is a special dispensation for super IMOs, but there are only a handful of those.
Now, Steve, what does the impartial conduct standard entail?
Well, three things. I'll list them off here. You use the best interest standard. That means a prudent fiduciary standard, and another new thing for agents. You charge no more than reasonable fees. That requires that you know the landscape of fees, and you'll want to find yourself in the middle of that. If you don't, if you find yourself an outlier charging more than a norm, then you should be able to defend that. And obviously, some people would say that is defensible, depending on what the recommendation is, but you'll want the documentation in that case to be able to defend it, perhaps in court.
Gotcha.
You make no materially misleading statements to the IRA owners about your recommendations, and that should be self-explanatory.
So let's go back to the prudent fiduciary standard you had mentioned. Explain that in some greater detail, if you would.
Well, that's actually another three-parter, so let me get to this list.
All right, the magic of threes.
First is gathering information. The agent will be required to gather information about investments, services, and expenses in the IRA plan because the recommendation would need to take those into account. The second part is doing comparative analysis with those findings and syncing them with your recommendation. The third is comparing the results with the needs and circumstances of the individual, and these three buckets would have to be analyzed together and mapped out against the prudent man standard. Basically, it's what a prudent professional would decide in that case.
Boy, that does not sound like a simple process.
And I simplified it for this discussion. Advisors, agents ought to be working with the distributors to ensure consistency.
Fair enough. Consistency is king, right? How likely is it that the rule will change this year?
Well, there are two ways the rule can change before the end of the year. First of all is the DOL itself. And President Trump charged the agency to review comments and look at evidence to see whether the rule ought to be amended, scrapped, kept. Really, it's up in the air as to what's going to happen in that process. Initially, people thought that it was just going to get tossed in that process, but it, there are a lot of smart people saying that there's strong cases for maintaining part of that, particularly some aspect of the fiduciary standard. I think a lot of people are saying that's definitely going to stay in some form.
Okay.
The other way is Congress. Representative Ann Wagner has had a bill for a couple of years that would block the DOL from acting on the fiduciary standard before the SEC. The SEC was authorized by Dodd-Frank to harmonize the fiduciary standard. That was tagged on to another larger bill that would change substantial parts of Dodd-Frank. That passed a committee. It has not yet passed the full Congress, although it's expected to. And its chances are pretty slim in Senate. A lot of senators have already said that's DOA, and whether there would be a compromise bill is really conjecture at this point.
How about the SEC? How likely is it that they'll do anything with the fiduciary?
Well, the SEC has been dysfunctional for some time. It's down to 2 members, or it was until the chairman was just appointed recently.
Sure, right, Jay Clayton.
So they're in a position to do more. They're going to add to the board to get to the full 5 complement. So that chairman, Jay Clayton, he is an attorney, or was an attorney, with a firm that did a lot of business with Wall Street firms. And it's not thought that he would be eager to have a tough standard, if any at all. So would he come up with a way to harmonize? That's up in the air as well.
So what should agents do?
Well, the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, NAIFA, has a list of 3 things.
Another set of 3.
Let me grab that.
Okay, what's number 1?
Number 1, excellent record keeping to document why the recommendation is being made. Now, I know we said that agents won't be required to keep documentation, but frankly, they are liable on June 9th for a lawsuit, even though there isn't the financial institution requirement. Clients can still sue at that point, so they have to be able to defend what they're recommending.
Okay, number 2.
Number 2, full discussion and disclosure of compensation arrangements. Another thing that's not required, but is considered a good habit to get into. It might be required down the road, but there are a lot of people who say that clients really ought to be told this, and so in the interest of fairness and transparency, is considered good practice.
Right, makes sense. What's number 3?
And number 3, education of staff members to be sure they know when and how the rule is applicable to customer service, sales, and marketing.
Well, Steve, thanks for the rundown. I think we're caught up, at least till June 9th.
Well, you're welcome, and thanks for looking into this.
And thank all of you for watching Insurance NewsNet TV. For more information on this issue and many others in your industry, just go to InsuranceNewsNet.com or check out Insurance NewsNet magazine if you like it old school, like me and Steve. Thanks again, man. Great to see you. See all of you next time.